Hi, welcome to STEM Ambassadors Live. I'm joined today by Ian James. Ian is from Mott MacDonald and he's going to speak to you about a career in civil engineering and what that could look like. I'm going to hand over to you now.
Okay, that's great, Vanessa. Thank you very much. Yeah, hi there, everyone. As Vanessa said, my name is Ian James and I am a practicing civil engineer with a company called Mott MacDonald. So a bit of background about myself, guys. I went down the route of learning through university. So I went and got myself a degree in the field of civil engineering. My course was literally titled Civil Engineering. So from there, I've worked for 3 different companies, which are all on the screen here. I worked originally for a company called Dyer and Butler, who are a contractor who work out mainly out of the southern region of the United Kingdom, predominantly in England, but they also have offices elsewhere across the UK. I worked for them for 2 years before moving on to work for Balfour Beatty as a setting out engineer out on site, and later became a section engineer with that company. And over the last 4.5 years or so, I've worked in a design consultancy with a company called Mott MacDonald, who I'm working from today, and I join you out of our Norwich office. So in terms of what civil engineering actually is, in old money, what civil engineering is, it used to just mean quite a literal meaning of non-military, which is the civil part of engineering. In terms of what it actually is, civil engineering is a professional discipline which can focus on either the design or the construction of schemes, maintenance as well. And this is, generally speaking, what people refer to as the physical and naturally built environment. So this could be anything from roads and bridges to buildings, to hospitals, to power stations and things like that, really. But at the heart of it, what a civil engineer is someone who, solves problems. It's what we do. We're problem solvers. We like to think our way around problems and come up with workable solutions, which are not only meets the needs of our client, but equally from the side I work on now, which is the design, so it can be safely built. And leading on from that safety thought, I've just got at this bottom right hand corner of the screen here as I look at it, an apprentice who worked with myself when I worked for Balfour Beatty, the importance of wearing personal protective equipment when out on site, because unfortunately he dropped a spray can of paint and he went to pick that up and obviously got himself covered in paint. But just something to think about in terms of the industry. You always want them to be safe. It was a good job that young Tom here had his glasses on, otherwise he would have got his eyes full of paint, and obviously that would have been very bad. So in terms of what interested myself in civil engineering, it came for me at quite a young age. In terms of, I was fascinated in civil engineering after I went to a football match at the old Wembley Stadium, which is the picture on the left-hand side of the screen here. Essentially, you had probably 85 to 90,000 people inside this one building built for a sporting event, and just the atmosphere that created was something which is probably going to stay with me until the end of my life. Really, it's something which I'm going to hold with me, hopefully for 80, 90 years, which is about another 50, 60 years to come, but we'll see what happens on that front. And another thing which interested me in civil engineering was actually when I was watching BBC's Top Gear, with the sort of, that original presenting crew and stuff of Clarkson, Hammond and May. They actually went to go see the Malawi Viaduct, which is the picture on the right hand side of the screen. And I was just amazed by how beautiful this structure looked and sort of everything about it. I subsequently actually wrote to the company who built this, and I actually have at home still a number of A1 posters which they sent me detailing different facts about that structure. It just so happened that it was these two things which sort of opened my eyes to what civil engineering could be and what that sort of might entail. What I've got also on this slider is a number of clips of different YouTube videos which you can go and watch at your own leisure when watching this. So in terms of what's out there for civil engineering, there is two distinct sides of the business. There is contracting and consulting. There's various different types of roles within these different companies, which you can see on the left-hand side of the screen here. This isn't an exhaustive list. This is just some of the things which you can do within each type of role. And the difference between the two roles is, as a contractor, you're generally focused on the side of the building of whatever it is the scheme is, whether it be buildings, rail, roads, power, anything like that. That's where it comes from. You've also got the environmental side of things, which is generally done through a consultant. However, you can still have people from an environmental side of things out on site. It's when you're in areas which there's a significant sort of interface with the local wildlife. In terms of what these roles might be, like I say, I started out my career as an engineer. I'm now working as a civil engineer for a design consultancy, but this is just a short array of different types of jobs that are out there. What I've done is I've also just put in a few images of different things which you could be involved in when you come into the industry. In terms of how you can get into the industry, there is various different ways in which someone can enter the industry. I knew from an early age that I was interested in the industry, and I also knew that I actually wanted to go down the educational route in terms of going to university, and that's what I did. Which I did a 3-year course of study, which was just a straight 3 years of university, because I knew that I just really wanted to get into the working environment. I didn't want to go do like a year in industry placement or a master's degree. That just wasn't for me. I was interested in the academic side, but I did just want to get out there and work. So I did the shorter scale of that 3 to 5 years down the university route. There's also ways you can go in as like a degree apprentice. So if you don't want to go for further study, like full-time at a university, you could maybe go down the route of finding an apprenticeship, which can have a degree add in as part of that program. For example, within my team in Norwich, I work with 4 engineering apprentices who form part of my wider team, and they all work 4 days a week and go to university for 1 day a week to supplement their studies further. So at the end of a 4-year program, they're going to end up with practical skills of work and also a degree from that opportunity. Equally, one of the things which you can find but is quite rare in the consulting side of the business is just literally on-the-job training. So coming straight out of education and into a role. A lot of the times what you'll find is on-the-job training is going to be offered more from a contracting side of things, where you're either learning a skilled trade, learning how to sort of operate some of the heavy plant and machinery out on site, such as excavators, vibrating rollers, and things like that. In terms of how to get through to those different parts, I've included a few links in the bottom left-hand side of the screen here. So you've got the Construction Industry Training Board, CITB. Go Construct is something which I've also included, which is a great link to various different sites and things like that, where you can find out more about the construction industry and looking at the contracting side of things. Equally, they've got stuff there about consultancies as well. The other link I've included is to the Construction Courses and Plant Machinery website, so CPCS, which is the governing body of the tickets you might need to go out and drive excavators, etc. And that's just 3 different routes. I'm sure there's others out there, but these are just sort of the most common ways into the industry. In terms of current projects in the industry, what I've got on screen here is just a flavour of what's currently ongoing in the UK at the moment. So on the top left-hand side, we've got a still from what is a vision of what one of the HS2 trains look like. That's High Speed 2, which is the London to Birmingham line, which is currently under construction. We've also got an image from Crossrail, which is a scheme which is introducing the Elizabeth line underneath the London Underground. That's due to be complete in a couple of years' time, That's currently sort of, they've opened some of it, but not the full line because not everything's finished. On the top right-hand side of the screen here, this is a still of the current Sizewell nuclear power plant. They're actually looking to build a new nuclear power plant at Sizewell in Suffolk, which is about a £20 billion scheme, which is sort of in its early planning stages, stroke construction. We have the Battersea Homes development on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, which is a multi-billion-dollar project, which is converting an old power station into new residential homes and some commercial space. There is also sort of middle on the bottom is the new visualization of the new Everton football stadium. And on the bottom right-hand side of the screen is a visualization for how they envision a third runway going in at Heathrow Airport. Thank you. Just open that to any questions you might have.